All right, I want to read a tweet before I hand you over to the town hall. Nashas Kapsa says, love matters more than money. You can have all the money, do a very good wedding, but without love, you have nothing. All right, that's a good way to get this topic started. Trevor Mbija on standby together with Mashirima Kapombe. They're going to be telling us what you need to know right now about marriage, money, weddings, and so forth. And I hand over to them at this time for what is, I can promise you, a very exciting discussion. Trevor, over to you.
Well, thanks, Waiga. Live from the waterfront in Karen. It's a very chilly night here. This is where we're talking about money and marriage. Listen, there's a survey done by the Kenya Demographic and Health Survey way back in 1998. That's over 20 years ago. Now, at that point, if you're in your mid-40s now, at that point, you're in your mid-20s. The survey says at that time, the divorce rate was at 3.4%. Fast forward to 2014, the divorce rate was at 6%. Another survey done by Infotrack in 2017, 74.4% of the respondents said that the marriage today is a joke. Main reason? Money. And that's the discussion we're going to have. We have a panel of very young people, some of them thinking of getting married. Maybe they're growing cold feet now. We'll find out from them and see what they think. I want to introduce my guests real quick, beginning from my immediate left. Robert Burale, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
You don't want to be referred to as a life coach.
No, just the coach.
Just the coach is enough. All right. Catherine Matsitsa, Managing Director, Samantha Bridal. Thank you so much for coming in tonight. Dr. Hassan Omar Kinywa, a member of the Muslim Marriage Committee and also a lecturer. Asante Sana. And Diane Masinde, a marriage counselor. Yes. Thanks for coming in as well tonight.
Thank you so much.
And Masitza, I'll start with you. What are the most startling statistics you found out? I know you've been doing a lot of research based on marriage, the finances that comes with it, the weddings, how grand they are. What are the most startling statistics you found out?
So we've done a lot of statistics in 2007, obviously 2008, when we wanted to expand our business and we wanted to see what does expansion look like. So we wanted to know the number of weddings, first of all, that were happening at that time. We found it was 28,000. We also wanted to find out how much are people spending on weddings. And, we have to stratify that.
Yeah.
In the lower middle, it was 1 million. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, right now, of course, it has changed. Right now, in the upper middle, it's like 5 million. Below that, really, we cannot talk about it, at least. and when I say this, you have to understand weddings in the way that we talk about them in today's society, are luxury things.
Yeah.
So, of course, I know there are people who spend much less, but anything below 1 million, that's a very low-end wedding. So that was the statistic.
What is the most expensive wedding you've dealt with?
There's many. As a brand, we work with businesses that deal with weddings, and I know businesses that have dealt with weddings of over.
You're not even sure you want to say it.
Yes, I actually don't want to say it because, the next day I'll find people waiting for me there. There are Kenyans dying in Turkana. How can people be spending this amount of money? But yes, let me just say, a wedding of less than 5 million Kenya shillings today is perhaps not anything to write home about.
Okay.
Yes. We are finding a lot of weddings are above 5 million Kenya shillings.
Okay.
But also we found out who is paying for the weddings. That's one thing we went up to find out. We found out that it depends on the age. So anybody below 30 years old, when they're in their 20s, usually it's the parents who are footing this bill. Because if you are my daughter and you're getting married today, you're not going to embarrass me by having some shady looking wedding. I'm going to finance it, and a lot of parents are doing that. But a lot of people in their 30s, mid-30s, they've worked, they've saved for the money so they can finance their own weddings.
Okay.
So that is a big trend we are finding out. But right now, what we're also finding out is that a lot of young Kenyans are fed up. They are fed up with seeing all these expensive weddings, and that is the biggest startling statistic we are seeing right now. That if they had their way, they would have very simple weddings.
Okay.
In fact, they'll just come, just the two of them, and get married.
So they'd prefer going through the AG or something like that?
A lot of them, if they had their way.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of societal pressures at the moment.
Okay.
Because, of course, the wedding media has expanded.
Yeah.
And so they want to be on Instagram.
Okay.
They want to be on TV. And so there's a lot of pressure.
Okay.
So a lot of them are feeling. That's why, there's a couple who had the 100 shilling wedding.
Yeah, and they're here with us today.
That wedding went viral. It was on all the media platforms you can think of. A lot of Kenyans were talking about it.
Okay.
We recently posted something about a very simple wedding at the Aegis Chambers, and everybody's wild about it.
Okay, hold that thought. We'll come into that. And Robert, how much does peer pressure play into this? Your peers are getting married. You want to get married as well. There are some people who are having grand weddings. You also want to do the same thing, even if you don't necessarily can afford it. Yeah.
Sadly, in this generation, that's quite a major factor, because you've seen the weddings on social media, and they're your friends.
Yeah.
And then maybe you're a young man, and the woman you're about to marry tells you, my friend Jen had a wedding that is worth 7 million, and you only have 7,000. So you wonder, what are you going to do? So you go into so much debt trying to please people on social media who really don't care about you. In fact, I say this without fear of contradiction. A greater percentage of the people who come for that wedding don't really care about you. They come in to eat, to see how they'll criticize the wedding dress, and to start saying, let's take a bet on how long this marriage will last. So this social media age, because now we're in the social media age, we want to do what people are doing, or even if they have not done, we want to do things that will make us look good in the eyes of other people.
Okay. For
the likes, we have TV shows now, big weddings, and you want to be on TV so that you tell your children and your grandchildren that, our wedding was featured in all the news stations. You understand what I'm saying? But it is the reason many people are hurting, because the wedding is for people who don't really care. But when things hit the fan during the marriage, the people who came to take selfies on your wedding are not there.
Yeah.
The people who liked your status and your photos are not the Diane Masindas. They are not marriage counselors.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, in fact, the people who are liking your photos will now switch once everything goes down, not to liking your photos, but to discussing your breakup in the gossip groups.
Yeah.
So peer pressure is a demon.
We call them the online in-laws.
Yes.
Then I'll come to you now. And what is the leading cause of breakups? Before I come to Dr. Kinyo, what is the leading cause of breakups? You're a marriage counselor, and you've been dealing with this a lot, especially in the middle class and the youth right now.
Yes.
What are you hearing?
Sex, money, in-laws. Those are the three main things that actually bring about conflict in marriage. And I'll throw in over there also communication.
Yeah.
And all that is also tied also to money. You see, a lot of us, we're getting married for the wrong motives. We getting married because we are fascinated about the idea of marriage. So you enter inside there, you realize that actually you've married a stranger. And that stranger you don't even know. And it's difficult to handle finances with a stranger. It's very easy to handle finances with a friend. You see, when a friend is on a low, like, hey, I need some help, it's easy for you to support that friend. Same thing applies to marriage. We're having a lot of marriages that are based on titles. The title of a husband and a wife, not friendship. So because now entering into these titles, and then these titles are being cheered up by the society, a husband's role is this, a wife's role is this. So if the husband's role, according to society, is to provide, once that guy hits rock bottom financially, he's no longer a husband. So he's frowned upon, he's looked down upon. But if they were friends, imagine that husband would be like, honey, I'm on the down low right now. And then the wife would be like, you're my friend, I'll support you. And a lot of also people are getting married without proper preparation. When you don't prepare for something as significant as marriage, it is actually going to frustrate you, it is going to overwhelm you. And yes, you might love that person, but without proper preparation, you're going to check inside over there and just realize, oh my goodness, things are crumbling apart because you're not seeing the same vision. Something also that I've noticed that for many couples, the only time when they've best worked together is when they're planning a wedding. Could you actually believe that? Like after the wedding, because you see, couples will come down, honey, what do you want for a wedding? January 2nd. Okay, what do you want? Blue, pink, what? They'll work together for that because it's a show. But once the show is over, will you still work together? Because they can't even work together. And you realize that if you put in the same effort that you put while preparing for the wedding into your marriage, your marriage will flourish. But the thing is, we're putting so much premium, so much emphasis on weddings because it's public. It's for show. than actually the marriage itself. So marry for the right motive, and let that motive be companionship. When it's companionship, when you're on the down, when you have little cash, it's okay, we'll work through it together. When you have a lot of cash, then you're able to use that money to show love. If you can afford an expensive wedding, that's your day. Go ahead, feel. But if you can't, don't struggle yourself. Don't go into debt, as actually Borale has actually mentioned. Don't push yourself into a black hole, and then people are just going to be like, oh, that marriage is crumbling.
But I've had statements that people change, but we'll come into that in just a bit. Dr. Kinyua, have we commercialized the institution of marriage from where you stand?
Yes, when you look at cases in our courts currently, most of them shows that we are commercializing our marriages. Looking at the case of MWM versus KNM 2014, the issues were about money. Looking at Echaria versus Echaria, also a case which is well known in the schools of law, it's about money. People go to court. They don't go to talk about the issue of dissolution of marriage, then the custody of the children and other things. They always go for dissolution of marriage because they want the money. And I think sometimes the problem also comes from our own constitution, also from the Marriage Act, because when you look at the Marriage Act, it talks of that when there is dissolution of marriage, especially section 6, it says that the money or the matrimonial property must be divided between the two. And that's why some people have also tried to ask the court, can you try to define what we mean by contribution in marriages? Then you see the court talks of it should be either monetary or non-monetary. So how is it non-monetary? They say this, that when a woman stays at home, that's contribution to the marriage. So this is the problem we are having in our constitution, and I think this is something which we need to stop, because many times there are times when a woman comes into marriage, but what they want is the money. And this is a question I've been asking.
Isn't the reverse also possible?
That's what I've always been saying. We want to see now men also going to court asking that I want also a share of what this lady has, because you might marry a lady who has a lot of money. So if there's dissolution of marriage after like 1 year, then we want to see men also saying that I want a share of that. So that things change.
All right, let's open the floor for all the questions. Mashirima.
Kana kidogo hapa nilikuwa nadhani haya ni maua ya harusi. Sawa. Kama mlivyokuwa mnataja hapo awali kuhusiana na gharama ya harusi, mmetaja wale ambao waliweza kuoana kwa shilingi 100, na hapa tuko na huyo mume ambaye ni Wilson Mutura ameungana nasi hivi sasa. Wilson, tueleze kidogo, wakati ambapo mlioana na gharama yenu ilikuwa shilingi 100, kisha baadaye kukaja watu wakawafadhili, wakawafanyia hafla ya zaidi ya shilingi milioni 3. Mlihisi vizuri zaidi katika ile ya shilingi 100 ama katika ile ya shilingi milioni 3 na zaidi?
Okay. Okay, thank you very much for this wonderful moment. Ile kitu ningaliweza kuongelelea na kuzungumzia ni kwa ya mbele ilikuwa sawa na pia ya pili ilikuwa sawa, lakini decision ndio inakuanga kitu ya maana. Maana ile kitu nilikuwa nimekata kauli ya kwamba sina pesa na lazima ningaliweza kufanya harusi, maana tamani langu lilikuwa lazima niweze kumvisha mke wangu pete. Hivyo singaliweza kumvisha pete kama tumefanya harusi ya Kamwiste. So hiyo siku nataka tena kwanza nishuke chini pande ya church. So ile kitu ningaliweza kusema, decision yako ndio inakuanga kitu ya maana. Mimi nilikata kauli, nataka harusi, na ile kitu nilikuwa nacho ndio niliweza kutumia. So hata wakati Mungu alikuja kwa njia hii ama nyingine na harusi tukaliweza kufanya ya milioni 3.8, niliweza kusikia tu vizuri. Lakini ya kwanza ilinipendeza zaidi kwa sababu sikuambia mke niko na shilingi 100, akasema wacha nirudi kwetu. Kwa hivyo ile ilinifurahisha sana. Hii ilikuwa ni kama sherehe, kusherehekea kwa sababu tu nishakuwa na mke, nilichukulia hivyo. Lakini ya kwanza ndio ilikuwa msingi wa ndoa yetu.
Na kuna baadhi ya watu ambao wamekuwa wakisema kuwa mlizungumzwa sana, wengine wakawa wanasema labda mmekosana. Ndoa yenu inaendelea vipi?
Najua kwa ngano lazima kuwe na majani ya kusumbua hii ngano isinje ikakuwa vizuri. Na ukiona ndoa yenye inaenda vizuri bila kuongelelewa haiko sawa. Kwa hivyo mimi huanga nasikia vizuri wakati watu wanasema tangu kama juzi nilisikia titi sijui nilitupa ule mke wa kwanza nikaoa mwingine mnono. Sasa nikashindwa. Kwani mwenye nilikuwa nimeoa hawezi akanona? So mke akikaa vizuri, poshua mke akikaa vizuri na aridhike, lazima anone, kwa sababu mwili stress zimeisha, lazima mwili ikue sawa. Hivyo kwa sababu marriage yetu imekuwa sawa na watu wanaona inaendelea vizuri na mambo sasa imeanza kutokea mengi kuliko sasa ya kwanza. So lazima niongelelewe, mambo ikue mbaya, lakini sisikiangi vibaya. In fact hata nauliza wataongea lini kwa sababu sijawasikia kwa muda.
Asante Wilson. Kuna swali lingine Trevor ambalo lilikuwa linahusu maswala ya mahari ambalo lilizua moto kweli hapa. Hebu tumpatie nafasi Jerry Ian aweze kuuliza swali hili.
My question goes to the panel, and mine is, how do you value or how do you put a value on dowry? And when you do that, is it appreciation? Is it a way of making the man the head of the house? Is it a way of just paying the parents? So what actually does dowry mean in your own perspective?
All right.
Trevor?
Burale.
Well, I don't have a problem with dowry, by the way. But I have a problem when aunties come and they want to pay their rent through somebody's dowry. And they want to ask for a lot of money. It's not that you're buying, and by the way, I know of some very bitter husbands who paid millions in dowry, and the person who suffers is your daughter, because it's like you sold your daughter. And that's when some crazy relatives come, you want to pay all your debts using your niece's dowry and all that. You come and say you paid her school fees when she was in nursery, so you want the money back. So dowry is just to show the family, I appreciate. It's just like an exchange of appreciation. But the moment we make it as if you are buying, even when that woman wants to say something in the house, they'll be told, shut up. You are somebody who was bought. When you treat your daughter as an object, you understand? I know of a very rich man, I think, I don't know him, but I read in the papers, in Mombasa, whose daughter got married, and all he asked for was 250 shillings. This guy is a billionaire. It's just, he's saying, listen, I just want you to be a man and show that you can lead. You know, when you give, you stretch. So you can stretch and lead your wife.
Yeah.
But now if he asked for 1 billion shillings, you can bet your bottom dollar that young girl would be in trouble all the days of her marriage.
Yeah.
And please, for the families that use dowry to make themselves rich, you'll enjoy the money, but your daughter will not enjoy her marriage. And I know of somebody who actually told his boys, when they asked for the dowry,
yeah,
he told his boys, let's go for a beer. And that wedding never happened. So dowry is okay,
yeah,
but it's not that you're buying a human being. It's just a level of appreciation. And I respect fathers who say, I'm not selling my daughter.
Okay.
I'm just giving you my daughter, but you're giving a hand of appreciation, saying that there is an exchange, but not a business deal. And that's why some of the marriages are hurting.
Catherine, in this day and age, is it even necessary? Let's start from there, because it's a platform where everyone is equal. It creates some level of inequality, whichever way you look at it. If I pay for dowry, then I feel like I own that person. And what if that person even earns more than I do anyway, and then I go and pay a little dowry and she's thinking you couldn't even afford me to begin with? So what are you telling me?
So, I'm sorry, I'm not sorry. I have a different view.
Okay.
I have a different view on this, that we have to go back culturally and check why was dowry there in a lot of cultures. And I think it was there. Not that I think, I know for sure it was there, because you had to demonstrate that you can look after my daughter.
Yeah.
You had to demonstrate that. And much as, you can say what you want to say, Bradley, you've said, but also there is a case where a lot of these young men are just sitting there. They're just not doing anything. And there has to be a way that the parents can actually gauge, can you look after this girl? And that in a lot of cultures this is there, and even to date, I think it is important. It is important that, and let's not cheat our girls, it is very important that we can look after. If we are getting married, you have to know that this man he's supposed to lead, he can look after his family. And looking after his family, you could be even the one earning more, but can you work together? And just that issue of dowry, a lot of parents want to find out that. Now, whether or not, perhaps we need to redefine it. But the point is, I think as a society, we've reached the point where we need to find out how do we gauge if this young man is ready to marry. Yeah. Because the point is, it's only at the point of dowry. But the rest of everything else, the men want to take the lead.
Okay.
They want the women to be women. And so if you want us to be women, then we also want the women, speaking for all women, especially for young girls. This thing of we'll just even go in the desert alone even if we have money. When troubles begin and this man cannot look after you, it is a big problem. Let's not cheat our girls.
I see Burale shaking his head.
I'm sorry, let's not cheat the girls.
We really have to take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll react to that.
Able, even if you're earning more, you can lose your job today. If you lose your job, can he lead the home?
Okay. Mashirima?
Hizo ni kauli ambazo nadhani kuna wengi kama mimi tutaziunga mkono, lakini tutarejea hivi punde ili tuweze kupata mengi zaidi kutoka kwa wale ambao wametoa mahari na wanahisi kuwa ni wazazi ambao wanaleta matatizo kama jinsi Burale alivyosema. Usiondoke.